Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our United Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 26. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had our best season to date. As you can see, we finished with 27 wins, 51 losses, and 4 overtime/shootout losses. So it was definitely a really good season for this team. I believe we had 9 more wins than last year, and we also didn't actually finish as the worst team in the entire league, which is a very big surprise. So we finished above the Buffalo Sabres just because of ROW, and we were right there with the LA Kings as well, which is pretty impressive. So this team is starting to get better, which is great to see. Obviously, we're still not scoring a ton of goals. We are getting better defensively, which is nice because we actually also had a pretty damn good penalty kill during the season at over 84%. So I think this team is definitely trending in the right direction, and I'm very excited about this upcoming draft class because there's a pretty solid player that we're going to be able to snag up here to hopefully give us a bit more depth scoring in our lineup. And I think it's going to help us out a ton that we could easily win over 30 games next season. So looking forward to seeing what this team could do next year, and looking forward to see how this team continues to progress, because I think at some stage we definitely could be a playoff team if we continue to build this team up the way we've been building it up so far up to this point. So yeah, just excited to see what ends up happening with that. Hopefully we can get some other good steals in this draft class aside from our first round pick. Hopefully we can get some good players outside of that first round, and just to kind of build up any of the areas in that bottom six that still need attention. So anyways, with that said, let's get to you guys' comments you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will take a look at the 2032 draft class and see what else we're going to be able to snag up. So the first comment is from Dylan Burrows, who says that goalie has to be drafted, and yeah, he probably does. There is a goaltender in the draft class that does have medium elite potential that we can actually draft. The only thing for him is he's not supposed to go all the way until the late rounds of this draft class. As you can see, he's projected to go 7th round, but he is listed as a gem at 19 years old. So likely we will be taking Gotch with our selection, but hopefully he develops better than DeFazio has, because DeFazio was also a 19-year-old medium elite goalie, but he doesn't develop up to this point really that well. So we will be definitely drafting Gotch, but hopefully since he's listed as a gem, he has a higher chance to grow and maybe make the NHL team at some point one day. The next comment is from I'm the Quiet One, who says, I say for Law, since he isn't progressing offensively, is to give him an offseason focus for offense where he is the weakest in, or give him a season challenge for offensive points so he kind of grows out of being a fighter. Antonio was once an 85 overall, and I hope he wakes up and grows back up to his potential. Also, I think either the medium elite or top 6 will definitely help you out. I'm personally for the elite. Also, Urquhart was the lowest minus player in defense, which was funny. So first and foremost, the thing about Law, yeah, definitely we need to kind of find a way to get Law going offensively, because Law's a decent player, but he's not really picking up as much points as we were hoping for at this point in time. He's up to a 70-21, which is not bad, but you could definitely see his offensive skill is definitely lacking. He is definitely a good goal scorer at times. He's scoring 15 goals in some seasons, 20 plus points, but obviously he's playing in our top 6, which means we need him to put up more offense. Definitely right now, his aggression is definitely his main thing. As you can see, over 400 penalty minutes already, and he's probably had over I'd say 50 fights in the NHL in his first 3 years. So yeah, definitely we want to get him better offensively. We are going to probably try and lock him up on a long-term deal this offseason, just because we could probably get him for pretty dirt cheap if we go for 8 years. So we'll probably lock him up, but I'm really hoping that we could try and find a way to get his offense up to what it could be in the top 6. I think he could have a better season this year, just because we are planning on drafting a medium elite right winger with our selection, which will be very helpful. Also, guys like Green getting better down the middle, I think it should help Law eventually get more points, but obviously we need to get his offensive awareness higher, because I think it was only an 82 at the moment. He was actually also talking about Dave Antonio, and Dave Antonio has been a little bit of a weird player. And he's an 85 at 24 with that medium elite potential, so there is still a chance he could be a very good defenseman at some point. But right now, he's been kind of one of the more disappointing defenders, because he was the lowest scoring defenseman on this team despite the elite potential. So I don't know what happened since his 39-point season, but he definitely hasn't been finding his offense since then. Is it because he's not getting power play time? It could be. But he's still getting a good chunk of ice time. I guess actually not as much as I expected, only 19 minutes a game. So maybe we need to find a way to give him some more ice time going forward. and then maybe he could start to pick up more points again. But yeah, he's just definitely not as good as we were anticipating when we drafted him, but I still think he's a solid rock back there on defense, and hopefully he just figure out his plus minus a little bit more. Also, he was mentioning about the medium elite player in the draft class or the top six. Yeah, basically, we're going to probably be for sure going with the medium elite. The medium top six could be a great player, but McElhinney is too good to pass up on. We need right wing depth, and this is likely going to be our selection. Even though he's only going to be like a 65 probably out of the draft, I think he could grow really well within a year. And putting him next to somebody like Green, I think, will actually help him out a lot too in terms of getting production and also growing. So I think both of them could kind of feed off each other quite well. Maybe could also help Law on that second line develop too. So yeah, likely McElhinney will be easily our first pick just because we don't really have that much medium elite players, I think, on a roster. And I think he kind of fits that bill as that second line right winger behind Hiromis. So likely he will be our selection in the draft. Next comment is from Mike Garbrand, who says, take that goalie early in the draft so we don't miss out. And he's talking about the same goalies Dylan was mentioning about. We're definitely going to take that goalie. We'll probably will take him earlier than the 7th round just to make sure we get him. So probably round 6 or something like that. We'll snag him up. And then who knows what we'll go with round 7. But we'll probably try and take that goalie a little bit early just to make sure we actually get him. Because who knows if the AI teams will take him before we end up getting a chance at him. So might as well take him with our 6th rounder instead of we're risking that he gets taken early in the 7th round by like Buffalo or something like that. So I think that's probably a great idea to do that. Next comment is from Saturn Taku, says, excellent season and a big step forward for the team. If available, Camper as the low top 6 grinder should be a pick for no other reason that he could be needed as a 4th line depth in a few seasons. And yeah, Camper's kind of an interesting player. He only has low top 6 potential if we actually sort all the way down here. Let's actually just go by centers. This might make it a bit easier to find him. But yeah, we could use always some bottom 6 help. And if we scroll all the way down to Camper, like I was saying, he only has a low top 6 potential, which obviously low top 6 potential is nothing crazy. Wasn't he a center? Or did I skip him already? Maybe he wasn't a center. Where was he? Let's just go forwards. It'd be easier if I just sorted by what I have pinned, but let's just go to this because I think he was projected 3rd round, if I remember right. But yeah, I think it definitely makes a lot of sense to draft a guy like him because he was listed, I'm pretty sure, as a gem. Why don't I see him yet? Was he supposed to go even late in this draft? I gotta sort this by what is it? Pinned. I think this will be easier. Where is he? Or am I just completely blind this morning? Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah, see, he's listed as a gem as a low top 6, so he's a left winger. Okay, but I think this would be a good little option for the bottom 6. He actually has pretty solid shooting and physical, and since he is listed as a gem, I think he could potentially make it. Will he make it for sure? No guarantees, but he could still end up becoming maybe like a 77, which would definitely give us a little bit more depth on that bottom 6. So yeah, we'll probably look at Camper as potentially a 3rd round option. Unless there is something better at that spot. But likely Camper will be another guy just to bring in to hopefully give us some better bottom 6 options. Because at the moment, still, we're kind of trying to figure out that bottom 6 as much as possible. And maybe he's that type of guy that can literally fit either a depth position spot, like Saturn Talk was mentioning, or a 4th line spot potentially too. And the last and final comment is from Fat Stacks, who says, I don't know if it still works like this in NHL 26, but in NHL 25, having right kind of defensemen playing with each other made a crazy difference. For example, playing a defensive defenseman with an offensive defenseman and 2 ways with 2 ways. Could also help the plus minus out and maybe solve Dave Antoni's regression issues. I don't know for sure though. I'm just speculating because it would be unfortunate to let guys' potential go to waste. And yeah, chemistry at least still works the same as it did in NHL 25. But I don't think our chemistry was working that great still having Dave Antonio on the top pairing with like Paco, for instance, even though Paco is an OFD. So I guess it really just depends on the coach too, because maybe our current coach isn't really cutting it for Dave or something like that. But we could obviously look into maybe readjusting it and putting him next to an offensive defenseman, which means probably we've been playing him next to Albatozer though, haven't we? Or was that Urquhart? It's probably Urquhart. So maybe if we moved Albatozer next to Antonio, that would work better, but it depends on, I guess, chemistry and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm not too really sure if that's why he's regressed. He hasn't really gone up much in overall. Like, he's kind of capped out as a top 4. I think the main reason why he hasn't grown a lot is because he was a part of that early on draft class. But it's really tough to say. Like, he's been definitely tough on himself. Like, we can't see his log items for some reason. It always resets after you leave the mode. But he was losing morale due to individual performance and stuff like that. So I think he's just really tough on himself defensively, and that's why his overalls bounced around a bit. But he is still a good defenseman being an 85, but obviously he's probably not going to reach like a 90 plus like some elite defenders out there. So hopefully he has a good year coming up. At least he is locked up. So in case he does have a boom season, we already have him signed. But it is kind of disappointing that he hasn't really caught fire as of late. So we'll see if he's able to get back there again. But I think it's just maybe due to not being on the power play anymore that he's not producing as much as he used to, because he's getting his ice time taken away from guys like Paco, Albatozer, even Lee, who we just recently drafted, just because those guys are more offensively minded. All right, so with that said, I think we're ready to get into this draft class and see what we could snag up here. Obviously, we know what we're going to go with for the first round. After that, it's really a toss-up. Like I said, I do want that goalie for sure. And I do want to try and get Camper, like Saturn Talk was mentioning. I'm not really too sure what else we're going to grab, but hopefully we could find something maybe decent just to keep on building up the depth of this team. Like, at some point in time, we are going to have to let go of some guys in the AHL too, so that might be something we end up doing this offseason potentially. So anyways, let's hop on into the draft and see what we're able to snag up here. So we have the 3rd overall selection. That's the main reason also why I would prefer to go with McElhinney. Obviously, there's nobody that's projected earlier that we could even snag anyways. So anyways, Buffalo at number 1, San Jose 2, us at 3, LA at 4, and Vegas at 5. That's kind of crazy that there's literally like 3 Pacific teams, I think, all drafting in the top 5. By the time we're a good team, we might have to face one of those teams in the Cup Finals or something like that. But anyways, let's take a look at what Buffalo takes at number 1 and move on to our pick. So Buffalo will take Afanasenkov, 83 overall medium elite sniper. Not somebody we could have drafted anyways, so we don't really care too much, but he looks like he's going to be a pretty damn solid player out of the draft. He's got big rig and pressure plus, of course, so he can build up some good pressure. And his shooting categories are already like 4 stars and all that. So, yeah, he's going to be a very useful player for them. And, of course, the Buffalo Sabres, once again, have a really early on selection. San Jose moved from 11 to 2 in the draft lottery, so this is a nice little gift for them to pick this early. But what would they select? They select Henry. Brent Henry, 82 overall medium elite. I think he was an American. Looks pretty good again, another sniper. Really good shooting categories, really balanced in terms of everything. No X factors, which is kind of surprising, but yeah, he still should be a really good player down the road. He probably will generate some X factors in his first few years of the NHL. So anyways, our selection, like I said, we're going a little bit off the board, but at least it's a medium elite player, and I'm very excited to add this guy to this team. Like I said, I think it's exactly what we needed, and we're lucky that he's actually medium elite and not just a medium top 6. So I'm assuming he's probably going to be around a 65 at most, maybe a 63 at lowest, but he's going to be jumping into our top 6 regardless. He will be getting power play time next season too. I think it's going to be probably the type of player that we could see get a lot of growth within one season just because he's going to be getting a lot of NHL time. So very excited about him. He is guaranteed to be a sniper as well, so maybe this guy's a future 50 goal scorer. Maybe he's a sniper that only picks up 30 goals. Regardless, I think he's going to be a nice player to have behind Hromas on that right side. So, Aiden McElhinney from Norway, welcome aboard. Very excited to add him to our team. 66. Yeah, that's a really solid starting point. Very solid starting point. I will definitely take that. He wears number 87, so maybe he used to like Sidney Crosby growing up. But 78 shooting across the board to start. Obviously a little bit low. But like I said, I think he could develop that really relatively quickly. We will definitely do him some off-season focus as well. Try to get that offensive awareness higher, because I think obviously it only being a 73 right now, it's obviously going to hurt him a bit, but I think it obviously could grow a lot within one off-season. So yeah, very excited for McElhinney. That's probably one of our best selections we've had in a couple of years. Just excited to see what he ends up developing into. All right, so who else in this first round was players that we could have potentially taken? Because I do want to always take a look at those guys that we could have taken instead, just to see how good they were. So Boganecki was the other guy I was looking at too, in that potential selection spot, just because he is a very decent overall and he's only 1 year out. However, decided to go with the elite player just because of the potential. So let's write down Boganecki's name on my paper just so I could kind of take a look at how good he was. Wesley's also supposed to go first round, so we might as well see how good he was. I just want to make sure that we're making some good selections. Albatozer, I'm kind of curious on because he's listed as a bust. So we'll write down Albatozer, and that might be it for the first round of players I could have taken. Yeah, it is. All right, so there's 3 guys we'll have to take a look at and see how good they are, but let's go through the rest of the top 5 just for fun. LA at 4, we'll select Hybert, 80 overall right wing 2-way forward. Interesting. Stu Hybert. Looks pretty balanced as you'd expect. A lot of 84s for him. That's interesting. Okay. And finally, Vegas at 5 is going to select McCollum, who's an 82 overall right wing sniper. That's a pretty good steal. I'm kind of surprised the LA Kings went for the 2-way forward, but maybe they saw something we didn't. But Gale McCollum on his way to Vegas. So that's a look at the top 5. Let's simulate to our pick at 35 in the second round. And then we are going to call a timeout. Actually, we don't really need to call a timeout, probably. Or should we call a timeout? Yeah, we probably should, actually, just because I don't really know what I'm selecting here. I do want to go back to the first round, though, like I was saying, and see how good those players were that we could have drafted. So, let's see. It looks like some people got some pretty solid steals on defense. Boganecki was a 75. All right, so he wasn't as high overall as I thought, but he is still a very good player. He has 82 shooting across the board, and he obviously has an X factor as well. Yeah, he's definitely going to be a good player, but obviously, is he going to be as good as McElhinney down the road? Tough to say, but that's a good little steal there for the Boston Bruins. Wow, Zajac also had medium elite potential, but he wasn't a guy I could have taken. Couple more 78 overall defenders. So it looks like this draft class is actually pretty damn strong. So let's see. We're looking for Wesley and Albatozer as the other 2 guys I could have taken. Another 78 overall D-man there. Damn. Yeah, there's a lot of drafts with some really good steals later on, which is kind of helpful just in case we end up ever becoming really good. So this is Wesley, 66 overall, medium top 6, power forward. Looks pretty decent. He's a guy we could have taken, but we did not take him. That's fine. And an Albatozer, who's listed as a bust, is a 62 overall, medium top 9 at 17. I mean, he does have good shooting. He could be a really good AHLer, but who knows how good of an NHLer he'll be. Since he went first round, maybe he'll become good. Now, one thing that's a little bit disgraceful, though, is he decides that he wants to be wearing number 88 in Chicago, which means Patrick Kane's retired number probably at this point in time in history shouldn't be worn by this guy, but he's going to be wearing 88 in Chicago if he does make the NHL. So that's interesting. All right, our next selection here in the early second round. The next best player that we have pinned, technically, is not for a while. It's Courtnall as a medium top 6 offensive defenseman. We already have a lot of OFDs. But would I just take Courtnall just for the hell of it? There's also Chung as a low top 6. He's 4 years out, so I don't feel like he's going to be as good. We could already take Camper if we really wanted to at this position, but we could definitely get Camper next round. So maybe just for the hell of it, we'll just draft this defenseman. It's tough to say because there's not really much else in this draft class other than that first rounder. So we could just, we could go for the medium 9 at center and Germain instead if we want to. Lacks size and weakness and character. His strength is his confidence. I mean, that's not bad, but he's a cocky ass, it seems like. Kearns is only medium 6 as well. Romano, we don't know on. How good does Romano look? Romano might actually not be that bad, but he looks like he's going to be bottom 6. We could always go for a reach on Romano if we want to already. Or I could take the Camper guy already, and then we could take that other dude next round. There's also a medium 9 in Zivlichki, who's 19. You know what? Let's go for a Camper already, and then we're going to probably go maybe with a random other dude for the other pick. Like Romano, I know he looks like he could be a bottom 6, or he could be a medium 9, but I feel like he's a low 9. I don't really know. I feel like I could go for the defenseman here, but I feel like we already have also a lot of D-man. So it's tough to say if it's the right call. How good does he look again, Courtnall? Decent shooting. Aside from that, looks pretty mid. So, even though he's projected to go earlier, I think we're going to just go for Camper early. I know it's kind of a weird thing to do, but let's take Camper. He's listed as a gem, and I kind of think he could be a player that develops like Saturn was mentioning. So, welcome aboard to Scott Camper. And he's a 62 overall. That's, I mean, a solid starting point for sure. So we'll see if he ends up developing. Does have actually some good shot power, but obviously most of his attributes are in physical play and skating. But maybe he's the guy that we could develop. We'll probably have him in the AHL next season, though, just to kind of help with his growth a bit better, maybe. All right, let's simulate 268 now. I guess I should write down who is also supposed to go in this round, just so we can kind of keep tabs on them. Because I kind of just want to know how good some of these guys are. Like, how good is Courtnall? He's probably only like a 57, 60 something, my guess. But we'll write down him. He's, I think, the only one that we need to look at, right? Or Chung. I don't know if Chung's supposed to go in this round or not, but let's simulate to our next pick here and see what we got at 68. Let's call another timeout since we have them. Let's go back to the second round here. See what went in this round. If there was any crazy steals that I made. Obviously, some of these players we can't even take, but it's still kind of fun just to take a look and see if there was any crazy low lead steals or something like that. So, so far looks pretty basic. We're just looking for Courtnall, which I don't know if I skipped him yet. I might have to go back. Oh no, there he is. 60 overall, medium top 6 OFD. I don't think he's going to be really that much of anything, but maybe he becomes something decent for them. But I don't really think he's somebody I absolutely needed that bad. So that's that. Oh, wow. A 73 overall medium starter. Damn. That's a really solid steal there for the Leafs. That's a really solid steal. 73 starter at 17. Huh. I wonder if this guy will develop, but he looks pretty good. Like, being a starter potential is good already, but being a 73 out of the draft class. Evan Benson. All right. Well, this is an interesting draft class so far. Chung is available to us, still has that low 6 in this third round. There's also Jermaine, but I don't like his character issues, kind of. I want to kind of go off the board with Romano. My gut is telling me that he could be good, but my other gut is telling me that he could be a low 9. So I feel like it's a risk, but I think it's a risk I'm willing to take. Obviously, there's also guys like Sheldon Day and all that too. But I think I'm going to go with the risky pick and go with the guy that's not fully scouted. So let me write down these guys' names that are supposed to go still, just so I could once again take a look at them. But we already know about Chung. We're going to write down Jermaine the German, and then we also have Kearns as in the Austrian. Romano we're probably going to be taking here. And maybe Day's supposed to go in this round as well. So we'll see if those guys end up being decent or not. But let's take a random risk here. Take us another center, Michael Romano. Maybe he's good based on those shooting and senses. Tough to say. But he could also be a really low potential player. So Mike Romano, welcome aboard. Is he a good selection? He's okay, actually. Medium top 9. I was expecting low top 9 at the worst. At the best, I was expecting maybe a low elite. But a 62 overall medium 9, that's not bad. That's not bad. We have had medium 9s develop okay and play well. So maybe he's going to be a good AHLer. Maybe he's going to be a guy that could fit into our bottom 6 at some stage regardless. I don't think that's a bad pick for our team. Next, we're going to sim to 101, and we're going to have to go back through that third round again. We'll call another timeout. I guess we're running out of timeouts, so we probably want to use them sparingly a little bit. But we want to look for Chung, Jermaine, Kearns, and Day. Wow, and Atkinson went to Columbus. That's cool. Chung was a 61 overall, low top 6. Didn't have gem status, so who knows how good this guy's going to develop to. But there he goes to the Nashville Predators. Aside from that, Jermaine went to the St. Louis Blues as that medium 9. He is a lower overall than the medium 9 we drafted, so I think we might have a good call with that at least. But Jermaine could be a good player. Maybe not, though. So that's him. We're looking for just Kearns and Day now. Kearns and Day. There's a medium elite steal for the Blue Jackets. Nobody we could have drafted. Kearns is only a medium 6, 61 overall, offensive defenseman. Looks decent enough, but will he become much? Who knows? And finally, we're also looking for the medium 9 in Day, which he went to the Montreal Canadiens as a 58 overall. So, yeah, I think we might have made an okay selection with that pick, which is nice. All right, and Zidlichky actually went afterwards at the late part of that first round. I almost forgot about him for some reason, but what do we got here now? Another medium top 6 defenseman in Barinka, which I don't really care too much about. Afterwards, there's nobody until Cantor. I don't feel like I really need to draft Cantor since I'm drafting a medium league goalie, but this guy looks like he's going to be a really high overall, so we're going to probably take 2 goalies in this draft class, which could be a good thing, might not be a good thing. But Cantor literally could be basically another stopgap type of player, similar to Kvapil. So let's go for Wes Cantor with the selection. I think he's going to be a 73 at least, and he could be an NHL goalie for us next season if we really want to. But let's see how good he is. He is a 70 overall. All right, so we have a decision then. We could sign him to ZLC, or we could leave him unsigned. Yeah, because we already have like 2 goalies that we need to play in the AHL next year that are starter and elite potential. Cantor is another one of these guys, though, that could play, but we could leave him unsigned if we really want to, or we could sign him for the NHL at some point, but I don't really know for sure. Yeah, Cantor's good, though, but obviously somebody that's not going to be necessarily getting a lot of playing time early, so he's probably not going to be much. We could use him as a stopgap if we want to get rid of Lysak at some point, but I'm not too sure if Lysak is going to continue growing or not. Tough to say. Anyways, there's Cantor with our selection. I don't really care about the other guys supposed to go in this round, so let's assimilate to our 5th round selection. We're probably going to soon go for the other goalie. Panaye is on the board still as a medium top 6. There's also a low top 6 Italian. Aside from that, there is the medium bottom 6 sniper. We do need more right wingers, kind of. So this would just give us more depth on that right side, but he doesn't look very good. Aside from that, there is not really much else. So I guess with this selection, we are probably just going to go for Panaye. I don't really need defensemen. The thing is, he's already 20 years old. Maybe not. Since he's already 20 years old, I think I might not take him. And he's like 5 years out as a 20-year-old. So he's probably definitely not going to make it. So by that logic instead, I'm going to maybe go off the board and just take a bottom 6 sniper. Just because he's at least only 17, so maybe he has chances to still develop a bit. So yeah, let's go for Hunter Dowd with the selection. I'm just not a fan of taking a huge overager like that defenseman. So Dowd is a 54 overall. Will just give us more depth on the right side. Will he be a career minor leaguer? Probably. Will he even get assigned to his ELC? Tough to say, but I think that's just at least a good filler option in case. And our final 2 picks of this draft, obviously here we're going to be going for that goaltender, because he's still projected to go 7th round, which is insane. There's a lot of goalies in this draft class. Like, even these goalies are supposed to go before him, too. So, but yeah, we're definitely going for Theodore Gotch here. He's listed as a gem as a medium elite goalie, and he looks like he has really good reflexes out of the draft. So he's probably going to be at least a 55, maybe a 56, but him being already 19 kind of sucks, but maybe he'll develop since he has that gem status. So Theodore Gotch, welcome to the team. 57 overall. Yeah, definitely a low starting point for a 19-year-old, but maybe he's going to get a lot of growth within 1 year. He will definitely not be playing in the AHL next season, but maybe within 1 to 2 seasons, he could be playing in the minors, and maybe he'll be in the NHL at some point. Definitely going to take a while to develop him, but that's why we have those stopgap kind of goalies like Kvapil, the guy we just drafted as well, Lysak, all just in case these guys don't actually develop. So anyways, Gotch is a good steal, though. Hopefully he is one of these goalies that actually becomes good. And then our last selection in this draft in round 7, is there anything crazy? A low bottom 6 sniper in Chad McDonald. Every team does need a Chad, but do we want that one? Is there anything else? Nichols is a low top 9. He is 19 though, so that's not great. There's also Carcillo, who's probably like a 7th defenseman, maybe an AHLer. Is there anybody that has good... Oh, there's a medium top 9 that's not even supposed to get drafted. I mean, since he's not supposed to get drafted and he actually has decent enough potential, we could take him, even though he's not going to be the greatest. You know what? Let's take him. He's a left wing, right wing. He's medium 9. He could play both sides. I think that's more useful than some of those other players. So Skilly's going to join the team as well. 52 overall. All right, not bad. I think this draft class maybe in terms of depth is better for us than some of the other ones, but obviously it's still not a crazy draft class at the end of it. But still one that we should have some roster players at least from. Like McElhinney should develop into becoming a really solid sniper for us. Camper could become a bottom 6 option for us at some point. A lot of the medium 9s and backup goalie, for instance, we don't really know if they're going to develop. And then Gotch as a medium elite goalie prospect at 19. There's a chance he could be just a normal starting goalie at some point, but maybe he finds a way to grow a lot within one season. So yeah, don't mind that draft class, but definitely there could be a better draft class ahead still, but I think at least we're addressing the need of more offensive depth a bit and also giving us goaltenders that could still develop into becoming something. So that's our draft class. Hopefully the re-sign stage goes pretty smoothly as well because we do have some players to re-sign on hopefully some long-term deals if they want to accept it. So let's advance a day, get to this re-sign stage. First, we got to bring back some AHL coaches, so we might as well just bring them all back. We could still readjust our coaching staff if we want to, but I think for right now, our current head coach and stuff in the NHL is decent enough, so I think we'll probably keep our coaching staff the same for the time being, unless there's like some players that aren't benefiting well. Like we do have a D associate coach. We could maybe look to replace him at some stage, and maybe that will make our team develop a little bit better or something like that. So maybe that's something we look into maybe closer to the start of the season because it's not our head coaching job. But yeah, I think it might be a decent option for us to find a new defensive coach kind of almost in a way for that associate job. Because maybe that's why somebody like Dave Antonio isn't getting growth as well. It is kind of like the lowest overall coach of the bunch. So yeah, it might not be a bad idea for us to do that. Might not be a bad idea. Let's go on over to the scouts and get these guys re-signed already as well, because we already know which ones need contracts, because we know how to do this now. Hello? Thank you. Zednik will get you signed. Same with Nichols. See, at least we know how to work this now, so it's easier. Get all these 0 years left ones, but yeah, I think the team's coming together. I'm really excited to see what McElhinney could do in his first season, because like I said, I think putting him next to a playmaker like Green could be very good for the both of them. Like both of them could pick up a lot more points since one's a playmaker and one's a sniper. Hopefully they both get a lot of growth out of it and it works out, because if that's a really good second line for the future, that would help us out a lot too. Because right now I'd say we're still kind of like a one-line team for the most part on offense. I mean, there has been some guys, I guess, in the bottom 6 that have been scoring, or the second line, but we do need more consistent scoring out of it if possible. So re-sign stage. Let's get to this. We'll go to unsigned here to start. We're obviously going to be signing McElhinney to his ELC for sure, just because obviously he'll be joining our NHL roster. We don't have a lot of contract space, so I might have to leave some of these guys unsigned. The real question is there any AHLers I'd let go of? I mean, I could let go of all these guys, but then these guys, will they make us cap compliant? Probably not. We need to make sure we have to have a cap whale still. So let's let go of a good chunk of them, though. On offense, I think we'll probably end up re-signing, who is my favorite of these three? Reber, Masterliski, or Keller? You know what? I think I might actually let go of all 4 of those AHL forwards. I know we drafted Masterliski, Reber, and Keller. I feel like I should hold on to Masterliski and Reber just in case. Just for 1 year. Keller, I think I'm going to let go of, though. I should be giving these guys one-way contracts as cap whales, potentially, so maybe I'll just wait on that, actually. I am definitely going to let go of a couple, though, filler people, just because I need to have some contract space for the unsigned guys. And we have to free up some room in the minors, too. Like, we might end up letting go of the guys like Seidel, unfortunately, just because he's obviously way out of the NHL at this point. But we do need to get guys like Urquhart signed long-term, so let's see if we could get him on an 8-year deal already. I know he's not the highest potential defenseman in the world, but I think we could get him for cheap already, so wouldn't be a bad idea to get him signed up. Yeah, we could literally get him on an 8-year deal. Let's see. 2.675. I think that's a good deal. Obviously, he has the potential to become like an 84 plus if he wants to. So, yeah, let's get Urquhart locked up on a long-term deal, just because or else he might get too expensive down the road. That will be a very good contract in like a couple years, because Eventually, he'll be asking for over 5+, I'm guessing. And then Law will also try and get him locked up long-term if possible as well, while he has this organizational interest. He doesn't have any interest in an 8-year contract, according to this. And if he does want an 8-year contract, though... Okay, that actually goes up a lot faster than I expected. I don't know if he's going to really develop then, based on the fact that he doesn't want a lot for 8 years. Let's do 1950 for 8 years. Even for a bottom 6 option, that's a good price point, I think. So let's get him signed up as well. I know you guys are probably all screaming. You're like, why are you giving these guys 8-year contracts? It's just a way to make sure we have that depth. Regardless, it will give us depth that we need on our forward group. So we might as well do it. Mullen's a good goal scorer. I don't know how much he's going to want. 1.8. I do like Mullen as well as like a third line scoring option maybe down the road. Let's see. No movement clause. Wow, that would be for 7 of those 8 years. Jesus, that's a lot. And then he wants 2.45. That's just a little bit high right now, but he is a good goal scorer. I'm just trying to think if he'd get winged out of the lineup. Maybe I'll do a shorter term deal for him. But let me go back to no movement clause. And we'll go down to... Let's see, what's the sweep spot? 3, 4 years? I don't want him to walk to free agency, though, really. It's going to be over $2 million regardless on what we pay him. Okay, maybe around $2 million? 2.2, 2.25. So it'd be 2.25 for 4. 5, it would be more than that. 6, which would take him till he's 30. I feel like he's going to drop off a little bit earlier than normal. So, 6 years would be still relatively cheap. 2.55? 2.575. Yeah, we could probably get him for 2.575 for 6. You know what? I think since these are good little cheap contracts, I just want to keep on giving them. I know it's going to be kind of weird signing some dudes to the crazy long deals. We're trying to bank on them actually developing crazily. So Andrews is another guy. I don't think we need to really sign long term, but if we could get him for like a 5 or 6 year deal, that's not terrible. So let's see. No movement clause. Up this price point a little bit. Oh yeah, we could get him for really cheap. This is just to make sure we have that depth a bit. 6 years at 1.5. Let's do it. And then a lot of these guys that are RFAs in the AHL will probably just get a 2-way contract for the time being. So we'll just get a lot of the higher end ones signed up here. The lower end ones, we might have to let go of some people to sign some of our prospects right now. So Zongoth is still an NHLer, so we need him signed for sure. Bednar's a fringe NHL/AHLer, so we'll sign him for a year. I'm going to let go of Lundstrom already because this is a guy that we drafted that we weren't even supposed to, so let's just let go of him already. Kind of free up some roster spots in the minors. That way we won't have to worry about him being on our NHL team. We might as well sign Koshering for the AHL. I think we're going to have to start letting go of guys like Vít Zahevsky, unfortunately. Seidel. I think just freeing up some roster space on those guys with no potential makes a bit of sense. So we'll do that. Or I'm going to make sure to only give 1-year deals to guys like Ramsey, though, because they are going to get weaned out of the AHL lineup pretty damn quick. So we don't really want them signed for 2 years, if possible. Let's go with that for Norbert Schmidt. That's good. And for the other Koshering, let's do that as well. When you sign one Koshering, you got to sign the other, basically. We're also going to be letting go of Pojar and Whitmore just because we do have to we have to sign DeFazio to his ELC. I know he's not developing crazily, but he has potential, so that's why I need him signed. Which means, yeah, Pojar and Whitmore both I think are going to be let go of because we will have to run the starting goalie prospect and all that. So we could bring these guys back at some stage, but for right now, they are both going to be let go of just because we don't really need them. Kavalbo and Lysak, of course, will still be running the show in the NHL for a little bit longer at least. So we'll get them both signed up for a year. And then we have just those 3 UFAs, which will be cap whales if we need them, which I think we probably still will. And then we could sign a couple of these guys to their ELC if we want to. I think I'm going to leave these guys unsigned since they're low overalls, but I am going to sign Romano and Camper just because they have a higher overall out of the gate. I think at least if they're a 60 plus, we might as well sign them. If they're lower than a 60, it's probably better just to see if they grow unsigned. I could sign Cantor, like I said, but I think we already have enough goalies because Forster and DeFazio will run the AHL. So, yeah, I'm not going to sign Cantor yet, even though he is a good goalie out of the draft. Same goes with Gotch. We're not going to sign him yet. So that is good to go, which means let's advance a day and see if any of these RFAs reject. If they all accept, then we're just down to signing our cap whales, and then we should be cap compliant by the end of it, which is good. Looks like our coaches are coming back, even though they don't really want to join the team back, I guess. We're just paying enough to them that they will actually come back, so that's good to see. Same with some of our scouts are coming back to the organization. Ramsey's back for the AHL. Mullen accepted that extension. I don't mind it. Like I said, it's not a huge price point. Obviously, giving him a clause is kind of a bit weird for some people, but with it being a draft to glory, we need to have some of these roster players signed up long term, or else we could end up losing them, and that would hurt us a lot. Like, if we lost Mullen right now, that would definitely make our left wing group go from a decent left wing group to all of a sudden maybe like our bottom six has to employ like a 70 overall instead of a 78. So that's why I'm locking these guys up long term if it makes any sense. Andrews is also on board. Law's on board long term. Urquhart's on board long term. So all of those RFAs are on board long term, which is great. We do need to sign still some cap whales, so let's get these guys signed to some big money. Let's give $24 million to this one dude. And then these dudes we'll give less money to just because we don't really want to be right against the floor on the cap. But we want to be at least a little bit above it. A little bit above it. So let's go 13.8 for this dude, and now we should be already cap compliant, but just for the AHL sake, I am going to hold on to Reber for a 1-year deal as well, just because he could be like a captain kind of down there if we really want to, because he's been with the team since we drafted him, so we might as well give him a chance, him and guys like Master Liskey, to kind of be the leaders down there in the minors, even if they end up being scratched or something like that. So 4.8 for Reber. And now we should be cap compliant, I would assume. All right, so now if we go to our contract situation, in terms of players we have locked up here, you can obviously see Benak's locked up for a few more years, which obviously that's still going to be a big one if it does end. Mullen is now locked up on a nice 2.575 for a good chunk of time. I think that's perfect for him. Even if he just becomes a career bottom six or third line option, 2.5 isn't enormously high. Rest of these guys are all pending RFAs within the next year, looks like, most of them. Kling is obviously signed to $10 million. Law just accepted under $2 million for the next 8 years, which could be good, could be bad, of course, as well, but his potential actually just changed to medium elite. I didn't even realize that. That's interesting. So his potential changed, and we just paid him for 8 years. So if he actually develops into an elite forward now, this would be awesome. If he becomes still a career bottom six option, 1.95 is still a great contract, so I don't think there's any problems with that. Right wing side of things, obviously we got Hromis on 9.5. Nobody else is signed long term. Eventually Nakamura will probably have to. McElhinney, same thing. Defense, we have Paco locked up on 10.5. Dave Antonio is still locked up for a couple more years at 7.7. Lee's going to need something after his ELC ends. Urquhart signed to 2.675, which I think is great. Albatozer still has a few years left at 14.25, and Andrews is getting right around that same price point as Albatozer. So I think this is pretty damn good. Like, our defensive core is locked up at least for the next 2 years already. And then, like I said, Lee's going to probably be expensive down the road, but I think we're making some pretty good work with these contracts, even though some people are probably going to look at it as ridiculous that I'm giving a guy an 8-year deal at under $2 million. But you have to kind of do that in this type of mode, in this type of series. So anyways, that's all dealt with, which is good. Let's assimilate to free agency. We are above the cap floor now, so we should not need to sign anything. And we should be almost ready to sim up to next season pretty much, other than doing some off-season focuses. Because we do want to make sure we're doing that on some players just so they actually grow in areas of weakness. All right, looks like we didn't get our AHL coach, our goalie coach back, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We did need a new AHL head coach, I think, because I think I saw that we lost our AHL head coach to retirement, so we might as well find ourselves a good AHL head coach just to help out with teaching down there. So let's see what we got here. Let's change this over to AHL head coach. And let's sign up this dude just because he's an A- on that. Richard Pasternak, will sign him as the AHL head coach just to hopefully help our AHL team kind of grow a little bit better. So we'll go with that. We don't really need any new NHL coaches unless we wanted to pick up an associate coach that's better than the current one. We could look to somebody that's good on teaching. I just don't want us to over-simulate fully this year, but we could bring in one. Maybe one that's B. Yeah, you know what? Let's bring in this dude. And we'll fire the current associate coach. Just to kind of change things up a bit with our coaching staff. Because, like I said, Dave Antonio's growth getting stunt isn't great. So maybe a new defensive coach in this associate spot would be better. So, yeah, we're going to fire Dingle into the sun. So there you go. Coaches are dealt with. We already have our scouts, of course. So that's all set up. Let's do some off-season focuses. We don't really need to do it on guys like Klinga and Hromis because they're just going to keep on growing, I think, regardless. Paco doesn't really have a set weakness, so I don't even think we need to really address anything on Paco. Benak's good. Antonio, we could probably still work on Dave to try and get him to improve his play a little bit. Let's just get his defensive awareness higher if possible. Because, yeah, his defensive awareness isn't as high as it could be. But it would be nice to get him to being just a good shutdown D-man at some point in time. Lee is still a young enough defenseman that we should probably put some focus into him since we drafted him just last year. Let's go offensive, I guess, just to keep on getting him better in terms of his awareness since he is a two-way defenseman after all. So we might as well see if we could get that a little bit to grow. Urquhart, I mean, what kind of defenseman is he? Was he a two-way? I feel like he was a two-way. Let's get his offensive awareness a little bit higher too. I feel like he was pretty good last year, but obviously we just need to keep on getting guys to grow, regardless of where it is almost. Law's definitely one to focus on, as we were mentioning. His offensive awareness is really low, so I really want him to get better in that area, especially considering we just locked him up on an 8-year deal. So it would be nice to see if he actually grows into that elite potential now, since he went from low elite to medium elite. Since we just also committed to Mullen long-term, I think I also want to try and get Mullen's offensive awareness a bit higher too. He does have good shooting attributes, but it would be nice to get his awareness higher so that way he can maybe score more than a 20-plus goal season. And then for Green, we are going to also do probably more offensive awareness as well for him. Since he is a playmaker, I just want him to continue getting better in those areas, of course, because he's going to be a very important player in that second line role again. Aside from that, the only other player I probably need to put anything into is probably McElhaney, which he apparently will be starting in the minors on this part. So let's flip on over to the AHL. Nakamura, I guess, technically as well, since he is a top 6 forward. There's a couple of prospects down there that are important to do some focuses on, right? So let's continue to get these guys to grow as much as possible. Hopefully they get good growth before the season, so that way it gives us a little bit more depth to our roster, just in case. Forster as a medium starter, I mean, technically I don't really do off-season focuses on goalies much, but we might as well try and just to get him better, since he does have starter potential. It would be nice to have him actually grow to that potential. And then for McElhaney, obviously being the sniper we just drafted, we definitely need him to continue developing into a great NHLer, so I want his awareness to get better. He already has a decent shot, but we obviously got to keep on getting that offensive awareness higher so he could produce on a better level. Aside from that, I mean, we don't really need to put much focus on anybody else other than, I guess, DeFazio, since he is an elite goalie as well. That probably won't develop, but we want to just still get him growing if possible. So that's all good and set up and ready to go. We've addressed pretty much everything I think we need to this offseason, so let's simulate to the start of next season. I guess I have to go back to here. There we go. That's kind of weird, though. When you're at the AHL part of this, and you go up to here, it doesn't say simulate to next season. But if you're in the NHL, it says simulate to next season. Interesting. Anyways, let's go simulate to next season. and see if we get that coach, which we do get the AHL head coach. Nice. And we do get Pajot as well. At first, I thought I lost to Buffalo because of our logo, but Pajot is on board as an associate coach. Maybe that will make us overestimate having another good coach on our staff, but I think we owe it to our players to keep on building up the coaching staff as we're building up this roster as well. So excited to see what our lineup looks like. Obviously, we got to make sure McElhinney's in the NHL for sure, even if he is one of the lower overall players on the roster, just because he's got that potential, and I think we could really make him do well if we give him NHL time already. Like, he could be up to like a 78 within a year. All right, so first and foremost, let's double check the captaincies. Obviously, Benak will still be captain. Yep, Klinga and Hromis. Obviously, at some stage, we could always change up captains, but right now, that's the way it'll be. Let's get this lineup set up here and see what we're working with. So, starting off with the goaltenders, let's just remove my face. You guys can see the cap info and all that too. So the NHL goaltending tandem will be Kavapil and Lysak. Not a surprise, really. Kavapil's a 74, Lysak's a 73. In the system, Forster actually jumped to a 70. That's actually pretty good. So 70 at 21. Obviously, he's not growing that fast, but maybe he could still make the NHL at this rate. DeFazio is a 63 at 22. I don't really see a chance for him to develop into that NHL goalie, but I'm really hoping he does. So those are the goalies for the NHL and AHL. Defensively, we have Paco, Lee, Urquhart. Dave's an 81 again. I don't know what's with Dave and bouncing around in overall. Like, he's an 85 at one point, then he changes to an 81. Regardless, our defensive core looks pretty good. We don't need a depth defenseman, so we'll send Emerson back down. But our defensive core looks pretty good again, which is nice to see. AHL actually needs another defenseman, apparently, so maybe we shouldn't have let go of one of those filler defensemen if we did, which I don't remember if we did or not. So there is that. Aside from that, we go to the right wingers. We have Hromis and Nakamura. Obviously, we're going to be calling up Bradford, who was up here last season, and McElhinney. So those two guys will come on up. So we could send them up to the NHL, which means we are going to have to send down some more people. Left wing side of things, it's Klinga, Law, Kearns, Locke, Sarich, and Masterliski is getting sent down for sure. We don't need... There's two more people we could send down on forward. So it's probably going to be between Sarich and Locke for sure as one of the options, I'm guessing. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Okay, Benak, Mullen, Barrett, Green, and Sazongoth. Yeah, the rest of those guys can be in the AHL. I think for the left wingers, we might actually have to send down both Sarich and Locke because Mullen's going to be playing left wing as well. So basically, it would be Klinga on the top line, left wing. Law would be the second liner. And then it would be Mullen third line, Kearns fourth. Kearns really doesn't have much potential. Locke and Sarich are both bottom six options as well. They're both 21. Kearns is already 24, but Kearns last season, 15 points. Locke last season, 10 points. He is a sniper, though. They're both snipers, actually. You know, I think I'll send down the two bottom six forwards. I don't really want to do that, but I think that's probably the best play. I just don't want anybody scratched in the NHL, so we'll do that. Let's go best lines here and set this up. So we are definitely moving Barrett back down to third line center, Sazongoff to fourth line center, which will move McElhinney into that top six. Bradford is a fourth liner. What is his player type? Playmaker. Mullen and Greenwood swap positions, so we'll go with that. Kearns. The rest of that looks pretty good. I don't know about having some guys in the bottom six, but I feel like it's kind of a good lineup already. Because the first line, obviously, is good as it usually is. But second line, obviously, McElhinney. Putting him on the second line right away. Is it going to stunt his growth? I don't think so. But we could always put him back down to the third line if he's not producing crazily. But Nakamura, obviously, down there on the third line, has some good potential. He looks like he could develop still into becoming a decent player for us. We also have Green, of course, Law there, Mullen there. Barrett's actually not bad as a medium 9. He's a 75 now with 84 passing. So him next to two good shooters actually could be a great third line. And then this fourth line is kind of up in the air a bit. From a defensive standpoint, our chemistry isn't looking that good like this. Urquhart's already listed as a top 6, but he's 82. Yeah, we'll go with Dave Antonio and Albatozer, I guess, on that top 4. And Urquhart and Andrews like this. Goaltending, Kavapo, Lysak. That's not bad. Let's make sure our special teams are set up as well. Power play, Benak, Klinga, Hromis, Paco. We don't want Albatozer on this first unit. He could run the second unit instead. So who is a forward I want on this top unit? Who is a forward I want on the top unit? McElhaney and Nakamura would probably both be second unit. Mullen could be in that spot, but tough to say. Law in the first unit. I mean, we could move Law into that unit maybe, just to see if he develops more. So let's move Hromis up to the point position. And we'll put Law in this first unit. I'm not too sure if Law's the right guy for this, but we'll put Law in the first unit. Just because his potential changed to medium elite, we might as well see if we could develop on that. And then from a defensive standpoint, from a power play number 2 standpoint, obviously Law has to come on out here. We're going to get McElhaney and Nakamura onto this power play because both of them currently aren't. And we're also going to get Green onto this power play as well. So let's get Green into the center position. We need to get Nakamura. So we'll get Nakamura in that position. And we'll get McElhaney on this unit as well. Which right now is a -2. Lee on this unit. Mullen actually... I probably should put Mullen on, but I need... I'm trying to think. I guess Albatozer won't be getting power play time this year. I like Albatozer as an OFD, but I feel like Carter Lee could be good too on this position. His offensive awareness isn't the craziest, but we would like to develop him considering he was a first overall selection for us. So I guess, yeah, Albatozer, no power play time. Yeah, I think that's probably okay. That's probably okay. Because I probably would prefer Law to get power play time over Albatozer in that sense. So we'll go with that. This first unit looks fine. Second unit, we need to make sure we have the right guys in here. So let's take Barrett out. You get Green in this spot. I think we need to put McElhaney on this as well. But I would like to have a defenseman on this unit, kind of. Maybe McElhaney will only get normal power play time. We don't need to rush him too much. So we'll go with something like that. Penalty kill, I don't really know if I care to address this too much, but we'll probably just keep it like the way it has it set up. Yeah, we'll probably just do that. Because it was good last season anyways, so... yeah, that's probably what we're going to run with. So, our lines, Klinga, Benak, Hromis, McElhaney, Green, Law, Mullen, Barrett, Nakamura, Bradford, Kristoff, Sazongoth, and Kearns. Defensively, Lee, Paco, Albatozer, and Antonio, Urquhart, and Andrews. Would Urquhart work better on the top pairing? No, he wouldn't. What about Andrews up here at all? No. Okay. Yeah, I think this is definitely the best we could do. And it doesn't really look that bad. Like, I definitely think 30 wins is easy for our team, potentially. The second line's obviously pretty good for potential, but will they actually play good together? This third line, I think, is kind of underrated. Like, I don't really like moving Mullen to the third line, but I think he could still be really useful in this position. So that's the NHL. AHL, let's just go best lines here briefly and see who we have to scratch. Rizzy needs to be probably in the lineup, but he's only a low 9, so maybe not. Pearson was the leading point getter last year as a medium 9. Koshrain has not a lot of potential. There's a lot of guys getting scratched now in the minors. Camper I want to play just because we just drafted him. So I will probably take out this Koshrain as a low top 9. Actually, Master Liski and Reber probably both don't need to play. So we might as well take them out and throw other people in. So let's get Pearson in that spot. And we will throw in Camper in this spot. And then we'll just rework this to get some better chemistry, hopefully. I don't know if we for sure will, but we want to see if we could get some positives in this top 6. See, there's... that works so far. That's better than that. Get you up there. Get this down here, maybe. Nope, never mind. I just want to make sure we're getting as good as chemistry as we physically can. Yeah, this is probably the best for us on offense. Defensively, looks fine, I think, the way it is already. I don't think there's a way I could get rid of this minus, and I don't want to move Emerson down, to be honest, so What about Leakinen all the way up there? Nope. Okay, that's fine. So that's the defensive core. And then goaltenders, Forster and DeFazio. And then we have a lot of guys that we've drafted scratched now, which kind of sucks, but there's not really much I could do about it. It's not much I could do about it. So both those are nice and set up and ready to go. Final few things we got to do to wrap up this episode. I don't know how I've been recording for over an hour already. I've had to clear my throat a couple of times, so kind of a bit strange on that. But final few things we got to take a look at. Obviously, the upcoming draft class, what there is for potential prospects we could take, and what these new guys on our team look like as well. So let's go to edit player here and take a look at, I think we only have one new face on the roster, which is McElhinney, correct? Let's double check on that. Because we've seen already a lot of these other dudes last season. Just double checking to make sure there's nobody else. Yeah, there's nobody else. So let's take a look at McElhinney. Let's take a look at McElhinney as our first selection this year. And see if he has anything cool about his face or details. Obviously, he's going to be the one in the thumbnail for sure. But let's take a look at his face. Okay. All right. Okay, he looks pretty cool. He's got lame chops, which obviously lame chops are pretty weird. But let's see how much they grow. They only grow to 1. It's good that they don't grow it this far because that'd be looking ridiculous. But we could change it if we really wanted to. But yeah, he looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. Number 87, like I said, like Sidney Crosby. Pretty basic skates and all that type of thing. All right. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he could do in his rookie season. I think he could be a pretty good next to Green on that second line. So there's the one new player on our team. Now comes the big thing to end off this episode, the upcoming draft class. Is it going to be a good draft class for us in terms of potential players? Let's see. The answer is not off the hop again. So once again, we might have to rely on actually, never mind. There's Rankin. I didn't even realize him. He's a Polish dude. Jared Rankin. We'll pin him for a second. But let's go league by league and see if there's anything crazy early on in this draft. Hopefully there's a lot of depth to it. So first and foremost, from Germany, there is a guy named Blatter and all that. We'll just pin all these guys. But looks like Germany has more prospects this year than they did last year. So that's a good thing to see. So there is more options from Germany. Switzerland, there is a guy named Clancy supposed to go first round. Aside from that, not a lot of depth from Switzerland, but still some prospects. We head to Czech Republic. Klesla is like a second rounder. Man, it's not bad. Maybe a top 6 forward still. All right, looks like there's at least maybe some more players in this draft class compared to last year, which is good off the hop. What about Austria? Still the same players pretty much that we see every year that tend to go undrafted, but a couple other guys getting added. I don't know why they never generate a lot of prospects from there, but cool to see a Croatian. Sweden, as we said, Rankin's draft potential is number 6. So he could be an elite forward or a medium 6 or something like that, but we do need center help because Benak could be leaving the team in a few years, right? So that's not a bad option. Christie's also supposed to go first round. Aside from that, everybody else is outside of round 1. There's a German again playing in Sweden, but he's not supposed to go to quite late. Looks like we still should be able to get more roster players, which is good, but hopefully some of them have lowly potential. SM Liga has a first round talent in Clemenson. They also do have an early second rounder in Ernesto Millen. I hope that guy's a lowly. That'd be cool. Hextall as well. There's also Clarkson. Aside from that, there is Brodziak, but he's not supposed to get drafted, so that's pretty much it for SM Liga. Nobody in Allsvenskan as usual. Russia, is there any Polish players? Yes, there is. There's Barry Tays, and there's also Connor. Those guys are actually supposed to get drafted. Aside from that, nobody else. And then lastly, rest of the world, still no prospects in rest of the world. Damn. I'm always hoping that there's going to be a rest of the world player, but I haven't seen one yet. So looks like there's at least some guys projected to go in the first round this year that are from countries we can actually pick from. So kind of excited about that. Hopefully we make, of course, the right selection with regardless of what we get. But I think this year we could be drafting even later than we were this last season. Like, I think we could literally finish with 30 plus wins, which means we could finish as a bottom 5 team rather than a bottom 2 team this season. So excited to see what this team could do anyways. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Europe United Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will simulate the 2032-33 season as we look to see if this team could improve upon last season's 27 wins. And hopefully we find some good results in terms of the draft ahead as well. Think everything's going well to plan in terms of building this team up. It's just more about obviously the goaltending being the biggest question mark still, I think, right now on this roster. So think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.